Good afternoon, true crime friends. Today we're going to be talking about a case from Arizona. It's only 6 years old and is still unsolved. We're talking about the case of Nick Cordova. Gilbert, Arizona is a community in the Phoenix Mesa metro area. It's a suburb of Phoenix and it's located to the southwest of that city. I was there once on a family vacation with my parents, my siblings, all of their kids. It was this whole extended family vacation, and it really is a truly adorable city. There's a lot of fun places to shop. They have lots of fun restaurants, little strip malls that have different shops in them, antique malls. It's really cute. They have a population of 293,630 as of 2023, and there's a lot to do. In addition to they have a ton of parks. The Phoenix Zoo is right there. It's a great area to have kids too, which is exactly what Nick Cordova and his wife Alicia did. They had moved there when they were after living in Scottsdale for a while. Nick was born in Scottsdale, Arizona on October 16th, 1979, and was raised by his mother, Teresa. He was a football player and a wrestler while attending Chandler High School, where he graduated in 1998. He liked playing sports and being physically active. That was really important to him. After he graduated, Nick spent time as a fitness instructor for several years before he became involved in the HVAC business. It was at that time his family decided to move to Gilbert, Arizona, where he continued working as an HVAC businessman, and went into business at Gilbert Air with his partner, David Sweetman. Nick was described as someone who would always be there to help out a friend or family member, even if he was a little late. Something else Nick was known for was being very pokey and always running late. It was just a thing that people knew about Nick. Nick was going to be late. He really loved going on vacations with his family and friends. There's a lot to do in Arizona. A lot of fun things you can get involved in. Nick had a really good time going on vacations to Sycamore, Glennis, and Box Canyon. And he would often get involved in what was known as his other favorite hobby and his true passion, racing. Nick met his wife Alicia in 2003. They were together for several years before they finally decided to get married in October of 2011. They went on to have 2 kids whose names I'm going to keep private as they're both still minors. So I'll just refer to them as his son and daughter or children. Now, with 2 young kids, their lives continued as parents' lives normally do, changing diapers, playing games, work, spending time with your friends, picking up dirty clothes, cooking, cleaning, life. All the other things that people go through if they have kids or a family. But Nick absolutely loved it. He loved being a father. He enjoyed it so much, and his kids were the loves of his life. But in spite of all the good things that were happening in Nick's lives, and there were a lot, his life was pretty good, Nick had some pretty heavy concerns about something else. Prior to his murder, his wife actually said that he told her, "I can't help feeling like someone is watching me." And that is really ominous that he said that, because given the circumstances, it's highly possible and probable that somebody was watching him. Now, before we move on to the time that he lost his life, the day that he lost his life, I want to tell you a little bit about his life insurance policies that Nick had. He had one of them listed with Gilbert Air as the beneficiary so that David could continue the business if something were to happen to Nick. On the other one, his wife Alicia was the beneficiary because, again, if something happened, she needed to have a way to pay for things for herself and her children. But an interesting thing happened. Alicia noticed that the beneficiary had changed on the one life insurance policy from her, Alicia Cordova, to Nick's business, Gilbert Air. Now, I want you to remember this because I believe this holds a lot of weight and importance in this case and really shows me who the alleged perpetrator of this crime is. Now, on the morning of May 27th, 2020, Nick got up, went through his typical morning routine, did what he did, went to work. Later that evening, around 5:30, he was on FaceTime with his wife, son, and daughter. His wife had stepped out of the room for a second, and the kids were talking with Daddy. Nick's business partner, David, was also in the building. Suddenly, two men rushed in. They were both wearing masks. They were described as possibly being Hispanic, maybe Mexican, and they started beating Nick, and then they shot him, and his kids were screaming, "Something is wrong with Daddy, something is happening." And his wife looked and saw her husband being beaten by these two men. She called 911, and while on the phone with them, she said, "I'm on FaceTime with my husband, and someone came in and started beating him. I think they had a gun." I think she knew what was happening to her husband. After the men were done with Nick, they left, and David, the business partner, remained amazingly unharmed and still alive. The natural first course of action was for the PD to question David. That seems like a logical, sane conclusion considering he had been in the building when Nick was killed. But the Gilbert PD felt that David was lacking in suspicion and motive and cleared him of the murder fairly quickly. I have my thoughts about that. Now, I want to take a minute, though, first to describe David Sweetman. I really feel like this is relevant to the case. David is very well known throughout the Phoenix area for his motor towing company that he owned called Monster Towing Company. A lot of people accused David of running, and his business partner Jesse, of running a bait lot out of a Jack-in-the-Box. Now, I wasn't sure what a bait lot was, so I looked it up, but most of what I found had to do with things about fishing and lure. But from what I could gather in this situation, a bait lot is where he would set people up to be towed, possibly illegally. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I don't know everything about the towing business. David and his partner had several lawsuits filed against Monster Towing for alleged illegal towing of vehicles. Since that time, David has sold Monster Towing. Now, this is where we're going to get into a deeper part, a more disturbing part of David's past. In the spring of 2013, when David was married to his wife, Laura, David was arrested on a DV charge against his wife. Laura had a conversation between herself and recorded a conversation between herself and David in which he threatened to kill her. The Gilbert PD did not press charges in relation to this recording, but remember that he said this, that he threatened to kill her, and she recorded it. Laura Sweetman decided to file for a divorce from her husband. I think they may have continued living together through the end of the year, or he was just around because of the kids. But in December 2013, Laura Sweetman was found deceased in her bathtub. David was just sitting downstairs in the dining room and claims he found her, and he was the one who called in that she was deceased and had drowned. The Maricopa County coroner ruled her death an accidental drowning. That's possible. There's no hard proof one way or the other. But let's get back to the life insurance policy now. As you remember, it was originally set up with Alicia as the beneficiary. After all, she's Nick's wife, the mother to his sweet little children. She's going to spend her life raising her son and daughter, taking care of them, helping them remember their dad. And even though she could never have expected to lose her husband, the reason the policy existed was to help care for her in the unbelievably unexpected event that something does happen, like her husband being, you know. Anyway, so the fact that it was changed where the beneficiary was to Gilbert Air when they already had a policy, that seems weird. That seems very suspicious to me. Alicia actually fought with David Sweetman in court for several years over this policy, but she got so tired of fighting him that she finally just gave up and settled in court with him. Now, this is still an open case, but the Gilbert PD aren't really examining much right now to find the two men who actually committed the murder. The truck that was seen at Gilbert Air with the two men in it was seen at a gas station with one of the men standing outside the truck without a mask on, but apparently this is not enough to go on, so they're still searching for the suspects. I have thoughts about this case, and I also want to know what your thoughts are. I want to thank the follower who suggested this case and throw out a couple of theories. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. I love chatting with you guys about this. Theory 1, David hired those men to kill Nick. Theory 2, Alicia hired them to kill Nick and was working with David to have this happen. Or the man really did just break in and only kill Nick, and the life insurance policy is just an innocent thing. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this? I believe that David is the alleged and primary suspect in this case. And I feel it would, and again, alleged, I have no way of proving this. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying alleged. Every single person is innocent until proven guilty. I don't know if he's actually guilty, but I could see that he could be a suspect. And I think it would be a good idea to just look into him and see what happens. But I am glad that you are all listening to this. I'm glad this case is getting attention. Annie Elise over at Seriously also covered this back in May and did a video on it. So if you want to watch her video as well, you can. She does a good job on her videos. I have a few more cases on my list that I want to cover, but if you have any ideas for things that you would like me to cover, any cases, let me know, because I am happy to cover them. I think the more, especially when they're newer cases, we can kind of help work together to build up the pressure of making sure these cases get solved. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a great evening, everybody.